Nancy Howery, a 44-year-old divorced mother of 2 children, was last seen alive on February 15, 2023. That was the day that this defendant, Daniel Stearns, murdered her. Ms. Howery had been dating the defendant on and off for several months. They had a volatile relationship that he wanted to be exclusive, but that was not. Ms. Howery lived at that time in Indian Harbor Beach. The defendant at that time lived in the Palm Bay area with his parents. On February 14, 2023, Valentine's Day, Ms. Howery and the defendant were in an argument and they did not celebrate the holiday together. The next day, on February 15, 2023, Ms. Howery went to the house of a friend who lived in Palm Bay. Her friend's name is Iana Ramos. Both Ms. Howery and Ms. Ramos were from Brazil and both spoke Portuguese. Ms. Ramos will tell you that when they got together, they often enjoyed cooking traditional foods from the area that they were originally from Brazil. And she'll tell you that on that particular day, February 15th, 2023, Ms. Howery arrived at her house in the morning around 9 a.m. And that they had planned on looking for places to rent in Palm Bay because Ms. Howery was moving from her Indian Harbor Beach apartment. She will tell you that while Ms. Howery was at her house at 1346 Coral Reef Drive, Northwest Palm Bay, Ms. Howery had several FaceTime calls with a person Ms. Ramos knew to be Ms. Howery's boyfriend named Daniel. She will tell you that Ms. Howery and Daniel argued and that the conversation became heated. Ms. Ramos will tell you that Ms. Howery and Daniel planned to meet at the CVS near her house to work out their differences. And she will tell you also that Ms. Howery left her house at around 11:30 a.m. that morning, and that that was the last time that she saw her friend alive. Todd Howery is Nancy Howery's ex-husband. Now, he will tell you that on February 15th, 2023, Ms. Howery was supposed to pick up their children from school in the afternoon, but that he had to go get them instead because the school called him and said she never made it to that destination. Mr. Howery will tell you that that exact same thing happened again the next day, on Thursday, February 16th, that she didn't show up again to pick up the children. And he will tell you that he and the children went to the Indian Harbor Beach Police Department to report Nancy Howery as a missing person. The Indian Harbor Beach Police Department began to investigate. They checked Ms. Howery's residence, and they canvassed that area, and they began to speak to her friends. They also began looking into her cell phone's location. They obtained AT&T records that contained precise historical cell location data that gave the GPS coordinates of Ms. Howery's phone on February 15, 2023. The last ping was a location near the Malabar Rifle Club in Palm Bay at 12:06 p.m. Now, officers responded to that location. They did not find Ms. Howery, and they did not find the phone. Police were also searching for Ms. Howery's vehicle. She had registered to her a 2014 Honda Odyssey minivan. It was located at Oakleaf and Platt Streets, Southwest in Palm Bay. You will see on the maps that that's about a 10-minute drive or 3.8 miles from the area where her cell phone last pinged. Ms. Howery's vehicle was parked off to the side of the roadway. Part of the tires were in the grass. Her driver's license, her credit cards were strewn across the front seat. Her Louis Vuitton purse was open in the back seat. There were also bags of groceries in the car. After speaking with Ms. Howery's friends and relatives, the police developed Mr. Stearns as a potential suspect. Now, Todd Howery had an alibi for 2/15/2023, which police verified by looking at some surveillance videos from a couple different businesses that he had visited before getting the call to ultimately go pick up his kids from the school. On February 19th, so 4 days after the murder, 2023, the Palm Bay Police Department went to the defendant's residence to speak directly with him. At that time, when they asked him about his relationship or when he last saw Ms. Howery, he told them that he had not spoken to Nancy Howery in weeks, and that the last place he ever saw her vehicle, the minivan, was at her home. Police continued to investigate, and they discovered that the defendant's vehicle, a black Chevy pickup truck, is captured on flock cameras that show his tag number. A flock camera is a system that, particularly in Palm Bay, they have that take pictures of traffic and identify vehicles in certain locations. So the flock cameras showed the defendant's vehicle with his tag number on multiple occasions, usually late at night, headed toward an area that's commonly known as the compound in Palm Bay. Now, the compound is an unincorporated area to the southwest of Palm Bay that is comprised of several acres. It has some roads that are paved, some gravel, some just trails, other wooded areas, and some canals. But that area has not been formally developed. Now, the Brevard County Sheriff's Office also begins to assist in the investigation. On March 6th of 2023, agents Neil Lee and agents Tyler Peterson from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office go again to the defendant's residence to speak with him. Now, during this interview that was audio recorded, the defendant tells the agents that he and Ms. Howery had a falling out, that he wanted to be totally done with her and he had deleted all of her contacts from his phone. When asked when that had occurred, when the falling out had happened, he said it was about a week prior to when the Palm Bay police had come and speak to him on February 19th. When asked what the falling out was about, he said, quote, just not clicking, not following boundaries, relationship rules. I don't want someone who goes and sees other men. He tells them that the main form of communication that he and Ms. Howery had used was WhatsApp, which is a application on the phone that allows FaceTiming, and he also says that they use Snapchat sometimes and that he doesn't know where she could be. Now, later that night, his truck is again captured on flock cameras headed to the compound in the middle of the night. And agents from the Sheriff's Office have also asked for the assistance from agents from the Game Over Task Force from Brevard County Sheriff's Office. And they have asked these agents to surveil the defendant to see where he goes. That evening, agents observed the defendant leaving his residence and going to the compound. Other agents that were already at the compound observed the defendant going into wooded areas and spending approximately 30 minutes there and then going back home. The next day, on March 8th, 2023, 2 days later from when they first went and talked to him on the 6th, Agent Peterson and Agent Neal go back to the defendant's residence and speak to him again. This time, he told the agents that he did, in fact, talk to and see Nancy Howery on February 15, 2023, the last day she was seen alive. He tells the agents on this day that he went to meet her in Palm Bay, near a friend's house that spoke Portuguese. He said further that he had watched her pump gas at a nearby BP station, but that while talking to her using the phone, he decided that their relationship was too toxic and he didn't want to meet with her in person after all, even though he could see her from where he was talking to her on the phone. And he claimed to have driven away after seeing her at that BP gas station. Later that same day, March 8th, 2023, after the BCSO agents have come talk to him a second time, the defendant again was observed leaving his residence and driving into the compound. The BCSO agents this time requested additional assistance from the STAR unit. Now, the STAR unit is a helicopter that's equipped with video capabilities, including infrared cameras. On the 8th, going into the 9th, the STAR unit for BCSO begins to track the movements of the defendant's Chevy truck. Once he has parked in the compound and exited into the woods, Game Over Task Force agents are there to maintain visual surveillance of him. They will tell you he's had a light source and he spent several hours in the woods. Now, as dawn is approaching on March 9th of 2023, the agents see the defendant come out of the woods and down a dirt path and go to a canal. And they witnessed him dumping some material from a bucket into the canal. The BCS STAR unit was equipped with that infrared capability and cameras, as I told you, and you will see the video of him doing that in the early morning hours of March 9th. At that point, fearing that he's destroying evidence, the agents come in and take him into custody. They apprehended him there. His truck also was still parked there. In his truck, they located 2 shovels, large gloves, a headlamp, and a tarp and other items. A cadaver detecting canine dog was called and utilized and led the deputies to some human remains at 4 different locations within the compound. Some of those remains were burnt to varying different degrees, and there was a burn pile nearby. You'll see photographs of that as well. Some skin fragments, however, that had not been consumed by the fire were also recovered from these areas. That included the middle finger of a female. That middle finger was collected, and Caitlin Pill, who is a latent print examiner for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office Identification Unit, she compared the fingerprint from that recovered middle finger to known standard prints of Nancy Howery. And based on the fingerprint evidence, it was determined that the finger, in fact, was Nancy Howery's. Dr. Matrina Schmidt was an associate medical examiner here in Brevard County at the time of this crime. And she reviewed all of the remains of Ms. Howery that were collected by the crime scene unit of BCSO from those locations. And that included over 800 pieces of bone and skin. She will tell you that based on the pieces she had, which included part of the skull bones, particularly the frontal bone, that she determined based on the evidence that she had that the cause of death for Nancy Howery was a gunshot wound to the head, and the manner of death was homicide. Nancy Howery's remains were also examined by a forensic anthropologist named Dr. Heather Walsh-Haney. Now, Dr. Walsh-Haney specializes in cases like this, where a body is too damaged for the medical examiner to do a regular autopsy. And she will tell you that she's in agreement with Dr. Schmidt and that there is an exit wound in the portion of bone from Miss Howery's skull just above the right eye, and that she can tell you, and Dr. Schmidt agrees, that this is the exit wound from a bullet because of the unique external beveling that's on the frontal bone fragment that was recovered. So I ask simply that you listen carefully to all of the evidence as it's presented, that you use your common sense in evaluating it, and when you do that, and you follow the law as the court instructs you, you will reach the only true and just verdict that you can in this case, and you will find this defendant, Daniel Stearns, guilty as charged of the second-degree murder of Nancy Howery, of the abuse of her dead human body, and tampering with physical evidence. Thank you.
Defense would reserve their opening to the beginning of the defense's case.
Thank you. State, you may call your first witness.
State House Todd Howard.